Hey there friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is episode 3 of our mental health series. This one is going to be a little bit of a darker video, so I am going to give you guys a disclaimer. It is possibly going to be very triggering for some people because we are going to be talking about self-harm and suicidal thoughts. I personally believe that this is a topic that should be touched on a lot more often due to the fact that there are so many people who struggle with this, and I know so many people are not open about it. So the more that we can bring this to light and make it more normal and completely okay to go through these things, I feel like this is going to help people get themselves out of it in a much more healthy way. To get started, let's discuss definitions and terminology real quick. So when I'm talking about self-harm, I'm talking about anything that is harmful to yourself in a physical, emotional, mental, or even a spiritual way. So this could be things like speaking negatively to yourself. This could be allowing other people to mistreat you. This could be things as severe as cutting yourself, hurting yourself in some way physically, beating yourself up in your own head. All these things that are basically acts that are harmful to yourself and not self-loving. And all of these things are going to tear down our self-esteem. They're going to tear down who we are as a person. And something that we can become aware of, and this is something that's really helped me along my journey, is getting to the root cause of why it is that we are taking it upon ourselves to inflict pain or hurt ourselves. And this is something that I know can be definitely darker to talk about, but the thing is, I really do want to be the person who brings this to light and who isn't afraid to speak about things that people may find taboo or even just wrong to talk about. I personally think it's important for us to bring these things to light. So when it comes to any person who is going through these thoughts or having these thoughts of wanting to hurt themselves, whether it be cutting, whether it be wanting to take their own life, or overdosing on any sort of medications or drugs, understanding why it is that you're hurting yourself can be the very thing that gets you out or stops you from doing that. So having the awareness, maybe doing, like I mentioned in most of my videos, just doing things like shadow work, inner child healing, these things can really bring to light the reasoning why, and basically helping you understand why it is that you even wanted to hurt yourself in the first place. Because the truth is, none of us are born wanting to inflict pain upon ourselves. It is something that is a learned behavior, most often coming from childhood. And based on my own research and my own experience, the reasoning that we want to hurt ourselves is because at some point in our life, we experienced trauma and abuse. And when you are experiencing trauma and abuse for a short period of time or even for a long period of time, what we tend to do is take on this belief system that we deserve to be punished in some way, or that things are our fault when something goes wrong. So this could be something like your parents or somebody that you were close to getting you in trouble for something that may or may not have been your fault. And so we internalize that as a form of shame and self-punishment. And how this carries over into our adulthood is, say later down the road, you're going through a tough time, and instead of seeking support or allowing yourself to feel through it, you're thinking, I shouldn't be feeling this. So you're internalizing, and you're now shaming yourself for feeling whatever it is you're feeling. And this is only going to cause you to spiral down more and more and become angry at yourself. And what happens is when we turn that anger on ourselves, that is when we start to have those thoughts of, oh, maybe I should hurt myself, or maybe life isn't worth living anymore. This is a dangerous spiral, and it all stems from some form of childhood abuse or neglect. Because, like I said before, no one is born inherently with this idea of hurting themselves in any way, shape, or form. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Once again, most things stem from childhood, but recognizing and doing your own work. But the thing is, if you know that you're a person who has a tendency to go down that route of self-harm, if you have a tendency to know that you have anger that's directed at yourself, or if you have had any sort of thoughts of suicide, I would recommend, number one, is get support. Find someone, whether it be a therapist, it could even be family members or friends who can truly be there for you and who are not going to judge you, who are going to make you feel like you're not alone. Because that's another thing that's a very big trigger for people who are going through suicidal thoughts and wanting to harm themselves, is they feel alone and they feel like no one cares or understands them. So understanding this, getting someone who can be by your side while you're going through this, because I really do think that it isn't safe to be alone during these darker times of our lives, because that can also make you more likely to make decisions or take actions that are not going to be beneficial for you. And having someone who's in a much better headspace is going to be a lot better for you to have that person step in and make those decisions for you when you know you're not in a good headspace. So that would be a great tip that I would have for you that's helped me in my life as well. And I would say that there's a few other things. I wanted to give you guys like a couple stories from my own life, just so that, I don't know, I want to be more relatable and transparent with you. And I know that people who are going through tough times, I know right now in the world we're going through a lot of ups and downs. The energy is very turbulent, and because there's so much change, this is an upheaval. This can cause a lot of people who already have a tendency to struggle with mental health for these things to start surfacing again. And I know for me in my own life, this has happened, especially during, the early time of COVID, when, a lot of us lost our job and we had to spend so much time alone. This brought up a lot of feelings for me, because during my early childhood, I experienced a lot of feelings of isolation and loneliness. And this is kind of like another key to recognize if you have a tendency, or if maybe you struggle with mental health, is if you have feelings of isolation or loneliness to where when you're going through something, you want to shut the world out. This means at some point in your childhood, you felt like you could not trust people. You felt like no one was there for you. No one really cared about your feelings. And the thing is, that may have been true for you in your childhood. That may have been true for you when you were young, but it doesn't have to be true right now. And being able to step out and ask for help, like I mentioned earlier, and to trust people to step in and help you is going to be such a huge key component in your healing and getting yourself out of this. Because I know how hard it can be to trust people, because I experienced that in my early childhood as well. And this isn't to blame or shame people for whatever it is that they were going through, because I recognize too that everyone is doing the best they can with what they know, and this can help you, forgive those people who may have made it harder for you, whatever it is that you went through, in your childhood. So that's something else I wanted to mention. The first time I experienced thoughts of suicide was when I was in the 7th grade. And this was during a time that I would say I experienced a lot of loneliness, because I was just removed from school. I then became homeschooled. And around this time, I didn't have a lot of friends, because one of the things that I was raised with was, and the belief systems that we had didn't allow us to associate ourselves really with a lot of people who were not related to our religion. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate with this as well. During this time of being alone, because I did a lot of homeschooling, and homeschooling, you're at home a lot. And yes, I have siblings and they were around me, But because I felt like no one really understood what I was going through, it made it very challenging for me because I didn't open up. I didn't trust people to, step in and help me out. So what happened was I started to internalize everything. I started to spend more time away from people and not speaking about my feelings and starting to get depressed. I started to feel really low, and that's when I started to have those thoughts of maybe my life doesn't matter. I'm not that important. No one's really gonna notice if I'm gone. Clearly no one cares to ask me if I'm okay. And the thing is, these thoughts are all valid, and we have to understand that no matter who it is that's going through this, they're valid in their feelings. You have to be able to accept and to validate your own feelings. Yes, they're dark. Yes, these things aren't necessarily true, but they're true in the moment of how you feel. Feelings are valid. So understanding that is huge too, because when you accept how you're feeling, that's the first step in getting out of it. Denial isn't gonna get you anywhere. So acceptance and then moving forward. So that's something else that will really help you out too. Because of the way that I was raised, I'm very grateful that for a lot of the belief systems that I was raised around, because it made me feel like giving up wasn't an option, and that taking my life wasn't something that I really wanted to even visit. Even though obviously I had those thoughts, I never took the action steps to make that happen. And so that I'm very grateful for. And the reason why I bring this up is I feel like it's completely normal for people to have these thoughts, and to notice that they're only thoughts and that you don't have to take action on them. And once again, like I said before, if you are having these feelings and these thoughts, it is great to get support from a counselor and a therapist, because these are all ways that I believe that life is kind of pushing you in the direction of healing and pushing you in the direction of it's time to get some support to help you on your journey so that you can kind of get yourself out of whatever it is that you may be stuck in. And I just want to tell you guys that mental health is a real thing, and that there are so many people out here who are pretending that they don't feel their emotions, that we're using all these things and these addictions to cover up how we really feel, whether it be through food, it's through sex, it's through drugs, it's through alcohol, and all these different ways that we're just coping with our life. And I personally don't want to just live my life through coping mechanisms and addictions. I want to enjoy my life. I want to thrive, not just survive. And in order to do that, we really do have to process, to accept, and to allow whatever it is in our past that we brought into our present. We have to work through it and then release it and let it go. Because the truth is, if you don't acknowledge it and you're constantly in denial about, oh yeah, that didn't happen, or oh, I'm just gonna not think about it, it's still there. Because you still haven't acknowledged it, you're still in denial about it, so it's still going to be in your subconscious mind, which means it's going to be affecting your reality in some way, shape, or form. So that is the reason why it's so important to look at these things, even though they're hard to look at and to face. One of the things that I noticed as I was going through my spiritual awakenings was that I was actually getting these feelings of suicidal thoughts per se a lot more frequently. And this guy, Kyle Cease, was actually someone who gave me a different perspective on the way that I viewed suicidal thoughts. What his perspective is that suicidal thoughts are the old self, the part of the ego that wants to die. So this is one way that you can view that, is when you're having these thoughts come in your head of, I just don't want to do it anymore, this is too much for me. Being able to dissociate yourself, your true self, from the voices in your head that are saying these things, and recognizing that that is an old part of you that literally needs to die off. That's like an ego death per se. So instead of thinking, oh, I want to die, it is the ego and the old self wants to die. So this is a part of life that can be very transformative if you can see it from a different perspective. Because once again, perspective is everything really. So that has been really helpful for me, especially going through my own transformation, my own spiritual and healing journey is when I'm going through these dark times, yes, I seek help, and yes, I'll ask people to come into my life so that they can monitor me and make sure that I'm not doing anything, harmful or detrimental to myself. But then recognizing, okay, I'm going through a transformation. And just like the earth has seasons, just like everything in life has a cycle, we have to learn to become new again and to release the old self and to step into whatever it is that we're wanting to become. And by releasing the old and coming into the new, we can oftentimes let go of those thoughts and those feelings that want us to, or feel like they want us to harm ourselves. And there's so many different avenues that you can go down when it comes to self-harm and suicidal thoughts. And I'm not a doctor, so I will, obviously, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. This is just my perspective and my own personal advice and tips based on my own experiences with this. And I'm definitely not perfect. I'm still going through a lot of changes in my own life. I'm still doing my own healing, my own transformation on a daily basis. I like to meditate and I'm journaling and I'm constantly going within myself to figure out what it is I can do to fill my cup, because that's also been a big, huge thing in my life that has allowed me to basically, the more that you can fill your cup, the happier you're going to be. And if you are someone who has had a rough past, if you're someone who, you could even simply be going through a rough time, maybe you just got a divorce, maybe you went through a breakup, or you lost someone close to you, all of these things are going to challenge you to your soul. You are going to be challenged because those things are not easy for anyone to go through. So knowing that, and knowing that at some point in your life, no matter who you are, you're going to go through something challenging. And being able to have the tips, the tools, and the awareness to get yourself through those things is so, so important. And that's kind of my intention and the whole purpose of creating even this series in general, is to give people the awareness and the tools that have allowed me to get through a lot of challenging times in my life. And it's going to be a process. I realize that this isn't just oh, I'm healed and I'm perfect now. It's not that at all. I'm learning what it is that I can do to get myself through those challenging times. How do I get through depression? How do I get myself through anxiety and through these suicidal thoughts in a way that isn't going to completely destroy my life? So hopefully the tips in this video will give you guys some more, just a peace of mind and a relief to know that no, it's not going to last forever. And yes, there are ways to get yourself out of it. And knowing that, once again, on the other side of any sort of challenge, you're going to be a stronger person. You're going to know and learn way more about yourself. That's going to allow you to be more confident. It's going to allow you to show up in the world different, because you know that you got yourself through that and that you are able to handle anything that life throws your way. So I kind of want to do a quick recap of the tips in this video. And the first one I'm definitely going to say is getting help, getting support, finding someone who can be in your corner, whether it be, like I said, therapist, best friend, lover, and honestly, get multiple people. Get multiple people in your life who can help you, who will be a support, a positive light, and a good influence on you, especially when you're going through a challenging time. And doing the self-reflection, this would probably be the second step, doing the self-reflection, the inner child work, and the healing that's going to allow you to understand why it is that you may be feeling those ways. That is huge too, because then you're not going to be in a dark space of not understanding why things are happening. Having an awareness and understanding just gives you a peace of mind. And the third thing I would say is finding things in your life that really bring you joy. So this could be filling your cup, per se. Finding things in your life like morning routines, exercise regimen, and healthy eating, anything that's going to keep your vibration, keep your energy feeling good. Anything that's going to help you be a happier person in general is going to help you get through challenging times. And I think that that's pretty much all I have for this episode. And comment below if you want support. I'm here for you, and I want to build a community of people here who are all in this together and know that we're all connected from all across the world, especially through social media and all of these different platforms that we have access to. So I want to build a connection with you guys and know that you can trust me and that I'm here for you. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Like, I am so excited to be able to share what I've learned through my experiences, and that's what makes me feel good. That's what gets me up in the morning and makes me excited to go about my day, is being able to share this with you guys. So please like this video, it really helps my channel. Subscribe for more videos to come. I am going to make a few more videos in this mental health series, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.